I am so excited. Today is a very exciting day. This is Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner. It is Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. A very exciting day in stamping up current doings these days because this is the beginning of our annual catalog, and I will go ahead and launch right into that. I've been showing you the copy of the catalog and just sort of giving you an opportunity to look at the cover of the catalog and the back of the catalog. Now I can actually open up the catalog and show you what is in it. And I am very excited to show you many things that are in this catalog. I will not go through and do a catalog walkthrough. However, I can show you this now, and I can show you where the stamp set is that we will use this evening. And it is a stamp set that carried over from the mini catalog, and it is called Petal Park. This stamp set is on page 37 of our new 2023 to 2024 annual catalog. And there are, as always, lots of wonderful examples of how you can use this stamp set. And I am excited to show you how I decided to use it. I've used it, of course, in a couple of other videos that I've done, but this particular video was inspired by Brandy Cox. I attended a virtual retreat that she and three other ladies did about not quite a month ago, a couple of weeks ago. And there was a card that she did that was just, it blew my mind. And I thought, wow, I'd like to try to do that. But I didn't do it exactly like she did. I did it slightly differently and a bit more simplified. And it's not exactly like her card. So, and the cards that they demonstrated and showed us how to do are their own intellectual property. So I can show you the cards, but I can't demonstrate them for you at this point in time. All right, now, um, here we go. Petal Park, page 37, our new annual catalog. It does have a punch that goes with it, so let me show you those things right away. Again, the most exciting news is the fact that we are now in our new catalog, and I will be really excited about showing you the new in colors and all those kinds of things on on the next few lives. Here is the stamp set itself, called Petal Park. Okay, and it is a photopolymer stamp set. It is also a two-step stamp set, which means that there are outline stamps and then there are stamps that fill in those outlines. So I really do enjoy using a two-step stamp set like that. There is a punch that goes with it. It's called the Petal Park Builder Punch. Punches out all the flowers that you saw there as images in the stamp set. And I did also use on my card the retired rectangle stitched framelits. There are about 13 different dies in this set, and I used I think one of the larger ones to make the frame that I am going to show you to frame the card with. So, and many of you know what that looks like. I'll just pull them out real quickly so you can see. They're all stitched, which is something I really like. I like shapes that are stitched. It gives an extra dimension. All right, so here we go. Showed you the stamp set. I showed you the punch. Also on this card, I'm using something fancy. The words, these greetings or these sentiments, and then the die set that goes with it. I did decide to use this particular die. All right, and then that should be it. And here is the stamp set. I decided to make it a happy birthday stamp set. Let me see here. I'm trying to decide why this is funky here. Sorry, as I adjust that, that's slightly better. Okay. Anyway, so just looking at that and trying to, yes, all right. Okay, and okay, very good. Okay. Just adjusting, I'm sorry, I was adjusting my iPad over here to see what was going on. Okay, so here it is, and the colors that I used in this stamp set, or with this stamp set, were Sweet Sorbet. Okay, hold on. Okay, were the were Sweet Sorbet and Shaded Spruce. So I wanted to show you a couple of things that I did with that. The Shaded Spruce was a little, there we go, was a little dark in spots, and so was the Sweet Sorbet. So I did some stamping off with that. So I will show you exactly what I did there. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this. The designer series paper that I have used in here has been retired. It's the Regency Park designer series paper. So let's go ahead and look at the pieces that we need for this. Here is our envelope, and of course I will stamp that in just a few minutes. And because it's a photopolymer stamp set, I will be needing to use my paper piercing mat, and that paper piercing mat gives that cushion that I need to give me a nice clear image of the stamp that I'm trying to stamp. Here is the card base. It is balmy blue. It is 4 inches, 4¼ inches by 11 inches, and it's scored at 5½. Okay, make sure that we'll check that in a little bit. I used 2 pieces of basic white paper. This is 4 inches, 4 inches by 5¼ I believe that's right. Okay, and I had a scrap for the flowers and a scrap for other pieces that I needed. So I've got some extra scraps over here. All right, so I have plenty of pieces to use in this. Then I needed to use the designer series paper. The designer series paper is cut to 5½ by 4¼ and then as I said before, I use the rectangle stitched dies to cut that piece out of the center to make it look like a frame. All right, and that's going to be about it. So let's go ahead and get some stamping done. I'm going to show you the stamps that I used. This is the one that I'm going to go ahead and put this on the go ahead and do this envelope for you. All right, and I used the Sweet Sorbet. Okay, so go ahead and show you that. The angle of my camera is somewhat different this time, and I'm trying to figure out why that is. Oh, okay. I don't want to use that one yet. On my envelope, I use the solid stamp, so I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to do a little bit of what I call stamping off. So I'm going to pull in a piece of paper that I've used for other things to stamp off or to protect my other grid paper. And I'm going to, because this color is so rich and my ink pad is so juicy, I'm going to go ahead and stamp off on this. All right, so that's so bright. I don't want that quite so bright on my envelope. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that what we call second generation on that. Okay, and that's beautifully done. All right, we're going to need that again in just a minute when we go back and work on our actual image that we're going to put behind the frame. So let's go ahead and we're going to use some a splatter. That's kind of like a splatter or a dot stamp right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. And then this leaf stamp, we're going to do a little bit of stamping off with that leaf stamp as well. So we're going to add the leaves around the edge of this envelope to give that some, all right. Again, very dark, very rich color. So I'm going to stamp off on that. And then I'm going to put my leaf in a couple of different places because I wanted kind of a muted image here. There's that one. And again, stamp off and give me my final piece down here. Okay, there you go. And then we're going to use the dot stamp or the speckled stamp, if you, or whatever you want to call it, full strength. So I'm going to put a speckle here, and let's do something in the center here, and then a little something. Oops, got a little carried away with that one. Nobody else will know that's not supposed to be there, but it's not supposed to be there. Sorry about that. These pads are a little juicy. And there's that. Okay, so there's our envelope. Okay, all right. Now, if you wanted to cover that up, I don't know, you could put another flower. You could pop out another flower from your punch if you wanted to do that. But I don't know that that would go through the mail very well on the outside of your envelope. So there is our envelope. So we're finished with that part. Now let's go ahead and stamp the main part, which is, and I believe I've already gotten part of it stamped. I started this the other day when I was having such trouble. This is the third time I've tried to present this set of cards. And I started this the other day using the shaded spruce, and I turned the stamp, and this is the outline stamp. I turned the stamp in one direction and stamped down with the shaded spruce full strength. Then I flipped it around to the other side, and I did it in the opposite direction, like this. All right. Now, because it's two-step stamping, what you can do with this is you can, okay, I have to go back and pull out this piece because I only have one block that will fit this particular stamp, and I want to make sure that I get this correct. So I'm going to line this stamp up with my on my paper here so that it matches that, because it is kind of a little bit on the wobbly side, and if I try to put this on this block, it's not going to work very well if I try to put it on just with, just by hand, just by doing it by hand, because it'll be misshapen. So I wanted to show you that this is the way you can deal with that, is like almost like when you're using your Stamparatus, you can put this on exactly on top. Since it's clear, you can see exactly where it's going, and you can see that I followed the lines and lined up my stamp as best I can with those lines, so it should be pretty accurate when we go back to stamp it. So then I'm going to pull that off of there, and then I'm going to go, and here's again where we're going to use some examples of doing some stamping off, because I think the green, no, actually we're not going to stamp off on this one. This green we're going to use full strength. That's right. Okay, we could do a lighter version, but we're going to use this full strength. So I'm going to turn this around, turn this over, and use my stamp, or my stamp pad, upside down, padding on this image. All right, and there you go. Now, since we can see through this, we should be able to pretty accurately get this, and you're just going to have to hover over the image for a while. Look at as many places as you can. Try to keep it even as you can, and then just place it down slowly. All right, now hopefully if I aimed right, that looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so then now I'm going to take the other one and do the other side. And you could stamp off if you want, if you feel like this is a little dark, but it will lighten up once it dries a little bit. So now I'm going to take this here, do the exact same thing, hovering over my image, adjusting my stamp, looking at it to see that I have it pretty accurate there, and then just put it down slowly. And that should, there we go. Okay. All right, so there's my image. And we will do something similar when we do our flowers. So I'm going to put that aside just a minute because we have to do our individual flowers and we are going to punch those out. So I'm going to grab one of the pieces of the, well, this is actually, well, it's a 4 by 5 1/4, but it's the scrap piece that I'm going to use for this. So I'm going to go ahead and do my flowers because I need to do, let's see, 2 sets of these, and I'll have 1 extra one left over. So let's go ahead and do this. Now, a key thing to do is to look at the way your stamp or your punch is configured. All right, and you want to make sure that when you stamp your image, that your image is going in the same direction. Oops, as the other as the stamp is. So you want to make sure that you get, first of all, the correct ink, because I almost had the wrong ink here. I want to use the sorbet ink, not the shaded spruce for the flowers. Okay, and you make sure that you stamp it so that it matches the configuration, because your paper is going to go right in here. All right, so that's the key thing to do, is make sure you are very careful how you arrange that and stamp that. And I'm going to do this twice, and I'm going to do it kind of toward the bottom. I have plenty of room. All right. All right, and there's my outline part, and that's full strength. Now with this part, and again, lining those up so that it's going to match these, and you can, because of the clear block and the clear stamps, you can see very well where it goes. Sometimes it'll go exactly where it should, and sometimes it's a little off, and that's okay because it kind of gives it a slightly watercolor type look when it's a little off, and that's all right. I mean, for some people, they find that very frustrating. I don't mind it at all. I mean, so now what I'm doing, I stamped off, and so now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to color my flowers, watching, looking at each flower, trying to make sure, hovering over it and pushing down gently, again on my paper piercing mat. And you see how that's much lighter than the actual outline, and that's what we want. All right, I'm going to do it the same again here. I've inked up my stamp, I stamped off. I'm going to look through my block and my stamps and try very hard to get this just right, and gently put it down. And there we go. Okay. And okay, interesting. Okay. Okay. And so that's the end of the stamping for that. I will be stamping Happy Birthday, which comes from the Something Fancy set. So I'm going to put that over here just a minute. Be ready for that in just a minute. And Happy Birthday, I stamped, I should have a piece. I do. Like, I've already done that. I've already stamped that for you. So we don't need to watch me do that. So good. All right. So that piece is coming. All right. So we have 2 pieces over here that we're going to use in a couple minutes. But let's go ahead and let's go ahead and cut out or punch out. And I always turn my stamp upside down because that gives me a better idea of where my image is and how much I need to punch it out. So there we go. And let's just punch this. And there we have our pieces. We won't need this pad anymore, but I'll just keep it here just a minute. All right. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. Trying to move it or manipulate it around. When you hold the punch down just a little bit, it kind of locks it in. So when you move the paper around, you don't, once you press it down a little bit, it won't move. So I'm going to do this again. Okay, there we go. There are my pieces. Beautifully done. Okay, and then we have a scrap piece. Okay. All right, so that's it with the punch. And now let's go ahead and get this thing put together. I'll find my silicone mat so I can get this put together and don't need to worry about anything else. Okay, now extra pieces. This one of these pieces is going to go on the inside, and I believe I did do the same thing as I did on the other one. I did do kind of like a little image with this, and we'll go back and do that in just well, actually we should do that now before we start assembling it. So let's do that. Sorry, I don't mean to waffle back and forth here. So we're going to do a landscape kind of card. So let's turn it to the side. Let's find our sorbet. We're going to stamp off. So I'm going to do that off to the edge here on the side here. Okay. And let's do our, let's see, I believe I had it setting kind of like that. A nice edge there. Okay. And the little green leaf and the sprinkles. Let's bring those back in. Those are done with our shaded spruce. Sometimes I forget that I've done stuff on the inside of the card, so that's probably what got me thrown off there. All right, so here's a leaf. We're going to make sure that's inked up. I just love the fact that I can look straight through my block and just see how well that is inked up. I don't have to worry about as I can look straight through my block as far as placement is concerned too, which I think is wonderful because I'm not real good at getting things exactly where they should go all the time. So I'm going to, there we go. And one more. Okay. And then let's put our sprinkles, and I'll try not to be too heavy-handed on this. With a juicy pad, it's sometimes hard. You barely touch it. And then you want to make sure it gets inked well. All right, and one more. I always check my stamps. There we go. Okay, so that's the inside of our card. Excellent. Okay, now we're finally finished with the stamping, and so let's start assembling our card. One other item I forgot to mention: we're using the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. These came into our catalog a year or so ago, and we all love them so much that Stampin' Up! Has kindly kept them in our current catalog because they are so versatile. They really are very easy to use and very handy to use with all kinds of different colors because we do tend to they pick up the colors of the card or the colors that you're using on the card. So here's the inside. Let's go ahead and put that on in our card base. And I am using, and I might be running out here, my Stampin' Seal, which I typically use to glue down or to adhere my card base to the insert to my inside of my card base. You could use any kind of adhesive you wanted to. It doesn't have to be the Stampin' Seal. But I did decide to use that today. And this, remember, we're doing a horizontal card. So we need to make sure that our card is, our design that we stamped on the inside is going in the right direction. So here we go. All right, here we are. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Deanna. So glad you could be with me. Yes, it is your favorite color, isn't it? That sweet sorbet is a beautiful color. Okay. And the balmy blue goes so well with it. You know, it just works very well together. Thank you for watching. Okay, here we go. Now we've got that part, so let's set that aside just a minute and let's assemble this piece. All right. This piece, if you remember, I think this particular formula, or the way I laid everything out, just really ended up making it, how should I say, gives it a lot of depth and dimension, more so than a lot of my cards, and I really appreciate that. I popped up each of the flowers, so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to lay this out. I do what I call dry fitting, so I'm going to dry fit this a little bit first before, so that we have all our pieces here, and I want to be able to see where they are and where I need to put them before I attach them. So if I'm going to do this the way, yes, I'm going to do it this way. Okay. All right, so the big flower, I'm going to use my regular dimensionals on these flowers. The big flower, I'm just going to use one dimensional. Go ahead and put that on in this gap, this space right here. Then I'm going to use the other flower in the other big gap or spot on the opposite side. And you notice I just took my fingernail and just pushed it down on the backing of the dimensional, and that just makes it pop right out. Then I'm going to use this medium-sized flower, and I'm only going to use one of those because I like to do things in odd numbers: 3, 1, 3, 5, 7. But I think 7's a bit much, so I'm going to put this one here. Okay, I'm going to leave some space for happy birthday. And then this little one will fit very easily. Okay, right here. Right in this spot. Okay, and then we're going to use this one. Okay, one more. Now, when I do the frame, I'm going to show you, again, I'm holding my mouth just right when I'm doing that. When I do the frame, I'm going to put that on there with dimensionals. And I'm also going to do dimensionals on the back of the happy birthday. So we have a lot of dimensionals on the card, but I think you can understand that that really makes a nice difference on this, and will hold up very well in the mail, because the way I have done the frame around the frame. Okay, so there's that, and we have this one ready to go as soon as we want to put that down there. I think I'm going to kind of put this in the center, I think, because there's a space over here, so I think I'm going to kind of just do a little bit of something over there. But wait a minute, I'm not finished yet. I'm going to use that sprinkle stamp, or that speckle stamp again, and I'm going to put some of the sweet sorbet to kind of give it just a little oomph. Again, a little goes a long way on this one because of the way the juiciness of my pads. So try not to rock it when I do this. Rocking means moving stamp up and down or from side to side. Okay. Actually, I'm all right. And let's see, we'll put a little bit right here. And another one over here. And let's see. Not sure if you'll be able to see much of this one because of the frame. And one final one up here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Three. We need one more. Okay, right there. Okay, very good. So, sprinkles, speckles, whatever you want to call it. That was really nice to be able to add those to it. All right, let's put our happy birthday piece down here. And I think that'll look very nice right there. Looks pretty even. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, there's one other thing I need to do, and that is to add these two. And I think I decided to use all big ones because that's what I have left here. So let's go ahead and do that. These iridescent basic jewels, again, they're in our catalog. And the really big ones look very nice right there. And the really big flowers. They do have other sizes here, and I think I'm going to do, the medium ones, I'm going to put the medium on, and then the little bitty one, I'm going to put the little bitty. There we go. And that just goes with the size of the flower. Okay, and I guess you can see, hopefully you can see from here how that picks up that color. All right, now let's add that frame. And to do that, we need to add some dimensionals on the outside. But before we do that, let's add this to our, and we're going to make sure that we have an even as we can possibly get it. We're going to put a little bit of my favorite adhesive, what I call the green glue, or the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue, around the edges of it. And I'm going to try not to use too much because I don't want it gushing out from the side. That's just a little tiny thin line. I think you can see that. And that works really, really well. So let's get this and make sure that I'm putting this on the correct way. And it gives me an opportunity to be able to move around a little bit if I need to. So that looks good. All right. And I'm so glad that I'm finally able to show you this card. It has taken me 3 times to get this done. I think we may have figured out what our computer issue is. And anyway, for 2 people who are relatively smart, it's hard to sometimes admit that it's puzzling, that things aren't working out exactly as you thought they should, or they don't always work out just right. So I'm going to go ahead and put back. You see, this side is really pretty too. It's hard to just use one side of the paper, but we have to. So I'm going to take my scissors because I don't want to have any of the dimensionals showing, and I'm going to kind of cut a few of these in half. And because these dimensionals are octagonal, I think that's the right term, I'm just going to put, it'll give it enough, lift to work. And I'm going to do 2 on this side too. The trick about doing this frame is to make sure that you get the frame exactly even all the way around. And I noticed that this isn't exactly perfect. However, I don't know that that's going to be really visible. Okay, so you can see that I put dimensionals all the way around. So let's go ahead and remove the backings. I believe I have one more backing to go here. All right. Now, the card that I saw, and of course it doesn't matter. Oops, that looks like that's got a little bit of dimensional hanging off the edge there. Can't have that. All right, so I'm going to have to do a little trimming, and that's okay. I should have checked that before I did my took my backings off. All right, everything else looks good on there. Okay, so then my scissors are all big goopy. Okay, so here's the finishing touch. Now, again, one of the things that I do here is I make a special effort to just kind of hover over, and this piece is exactly the size of the front of your card. So it should, if you do it well and correct, it should fit exactly over it, and you shouldn't have any overlapping. So I'm going to kind of eyeball it here and see that's going to work there. And okay, hold my mouth just right, and there we go, and there is our card. Ladies, we've done it. It's done. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's such a cheerful happy birthday card that I really do appreciate. Okay, so that's that. Now let me pull out here and move some things so that you can see a little bit more easily. Here is the original card. Here is the card that we made tonight. Here are a couple of other examples of cards using different stamp sets. Now this one is using By the Bay, and I used some designer series paper from By the Bay. And then I did some sponging, or not sponging. I used my my brush. I brushed on color and then used the speckle stamp to give that a look of more sand, and then put those little sandpipers on there and colored them a little bit and used some of the dyes from the By the Bay set, and that's what we ended up with. All right, so there we go. So that's the stamp. That's one. And then the second one I thought was so cute, and I really did enjoy using many products on this one. This one is the rain. I can't think of it. The one with the rain and the animals in it, the rabbit and the turtle and the playing in the rain, playing in the rain. And I made this a thinking of you card. I just thought that was so adorable. And again, the paper in the background, the designer series paper. Now, all this designer series paper has retired, but as you saw right here, you can make your own designer series paper. You can make your own backgrounds with the blending brushes, and that's what I ended up doing to kind of try to match the colors in the frame that I used. So there's that, and that's what I have for you tonight. So I don't know, I think, I did put our little turtle friend. I stamped him and colored him in and put him in there just like the one on the front. And I believe I have the birds on the inside as well. So there you go. That was fun to do. But I think, I don't know which one is your favorite. Maybe you can tell me which one of those is your favorite. Okay. All right. So that's what I have. And thank you so much for watching. If you're watching the replay, welcome. And I'm so glad that you're here to watch the replay. This is Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner on a Facebook Live event on May the 2nd, 2023. I will be editing this this video and adding it to my YouTube channel, which is also called Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner. And I hope to share that with other folks who are not on Facebook, and that maybe they can enjoy this as well. Now, all of these stamps are carried over into our new catalog. So that was the primary reason I wanted to show all of these. These were carrying over, and they may not have carried over as bundles, but they carried over, and they're still available for customers to purchase. All right. The only thing that's not available would be the designer series paper. I believe that's it, right? Yeah, I think so. All right, so that's it, and thank you again so much.